Hey guys. So I thought I would do another live tonight. Um, hey, buddy, oh sorry, bud. Sorry. There you go, bud. I'm just cracking the doors. But I thought I would do one of my friends, she will be leaving on the 19th of this month to go to Ireland. Now she's not going into Northern Ireland, but I thought about, and I hadn't done this. I actually stalled a lot until. Actually, I didn't stall. I waited until the right time to do this. I wanted to really aim for when her trip got closer, and we're in the month that she will be going overseas. But I wanted to do a top 10. Actually, it's a top 15 list, but it's the top 15 Irish mythological uh creature list. So I'm going to be very specific. All of these creatures are actual creatures. So you will not hear me mention the leprechaun, cuz the leprechaun is, I would say, anybody that thinks of folklore in Ireland often thinks about the leprechaun because of St. Patrick's Day, but there is one part that everybody, I would say, doesn't know, a piece of history, an Irish legend that actually relates to how the longest river in Ireland was actually created. But it was not created through magic. It was created through one ginormous creature. But that's my question to all of you: is anybody that can, I mean, I'll give you the answer. Actually, you know what? Even better, probably from 2 weeks from now, maybe even a month from now, I want anybody to answer my question. Actually, actually, maybe I'll think of a better question. Because I can't, so I have to think about that. But as I said, you're not going to be hearing, things like the leprechaun on this list. This is specifically mythological creatures that inhabit Ireland. Now, this list was extremely hard. Um, I will say some of these stood out to me, and a lot of these were, I mean, a lot of them were very unique. Each of these crypt or real, I wouldn't call them cryptids. Um, I will call these mythological creatures. So like things like related to dragons, fairies. But we have 15 creatures in total. I will not be going in order from the number of list. I'll be just naming these off, telling you guys facts about these mythological creatures. But the first one I'm gonna start off with is the Dobahar Chew. Now, the Dobahar Chew is referred to as having the head of a dog, the body of an otter, and is incredibly large. Now, the Dobahar Chew is also called, so its name translates to the water dog or water hound. So it is considered a cryptid. Um, it's It's described as a massive, vicious cross between a dog and an otter, known as the King of the Lakes. It is deeply rooted in local oral traditions and historical records. It is notoriously aggressive, fast in the water, and emits a haunting, piercing screech. Folklore states that these creatures often hunt in pairs, meaning that they hunt in groups of two. Um, but the legend of the Glenade Lake. So the most famous encounter of the Dobahar Chu revolves around a woman named Gren- Graine, Grenine who was attacked and killed while washing clothes by the shores of Glenade Lake in County Leitrim. The hunt. Graine's husband, upon realizing what happened, tracked the creature down and killed it. Now, there is a revenge part of this story. According to the eyewitness or the legend, the mate of the other, because as they mentioned, the Dobahar Chu traveled in pairs, so you'll never find only one. They traveled in pairs. So the other one that was not hunted sought revenge and relentlessly hunted the husband. But Irish artist Sean Corcoran reported a sighting in the Connemara, was it Connemara, in 2000. But they said that these so they travel in pairs and they resemble a cross between a dog and an otter. And okay, but that is for the Dobahar Chew. So next up, and it's known as the King of the Lakes. Um, the King of the Glenade Lake. Next, so number 9, we have Selkie. Now, Selkie are so there's male and female, but they look, when I saw the pictures of these guys, they look, obviously one of them was a mermaid, the other looked like more of like a merman, but Selkies, so Selkies actually can shapeshift between a seal and a human by removing or putting on their seal skin. But they're also mentioned in Scottish folklore as well. But in human form, selkies are exceptionally beautiful and are known to fall in love with or marry humans. But many traditional tales revolve around a human man stealing a female selkie's seal skin and hiding it, forcing her to remain on land and become his wife. If she eventually finds her pelt, she transforms back into a seal and immediately returns to the sea. Not like mermaids, so there is a difference. Unlike mermaids, selkies are entire, so they're seals when in the water, and they're completely human when they're on land. But today, the selkie symbolizes untamable freedom, personal autonomy, and the struggle of maintaining one's true nature while juggling earthly or familial obligations. But it's also a fashion product or fashion brand as well. So it's also you can also refer to them as selchie. But that is the selkie, and they are found in Ireland, Scotland, and the Iceland coasts. Next up, we have another um mythical creature that I will say a lot of people are learning about now, but I feel like they're more I feel like they're lesser common than a leprechaun, but people still mention these, but it's called the puka. Now, in English translation it's spelled Pooka, but if you want to use the Irish word, it's actually the puka, so it's the Puca. But the puka is so the puka is actually a shape shifting fairy. So not your average Tinkerbell from Peter Pan, but it is a fairy that has the ability to shapeshift into animals that are black, like pitch black in color. And one of those animals that they are known, and they're known, so their personality, and really they're known as pranksters and an omen of doom. But they can shapeshift into things like rabbits, horses, goats. But once they're in horse form, they will they can they will they will occasionally offer unaware travelers with rides through the night. but it offers rides to intoxicated travelers, basically being so drunk stumbling home from Irish pubs. But the puka rides them away on a terrifying high-speed gallop across the countryside, dropping them off at dawn with no memory of the event, meaning they can dream the event. So when this person wakes up, they're not going to remember what happened to them that night. But but the thing is, Brian Borough's taming with this creature, dic- dict- basically, he was the only man successfully to ride a puka using a special bridle made from 3 hairs of the creature's tail. But he tired the beast until it promised to never torment Irishmen again. The only exception was could torment Irishmen who were drunk or were abroad with evil behavior or evil intent, it says. But the puka is a fairy that base when it's doing this to travelers, when it's but the thing is, it's true that when it's a drunk, unaware traveler coming from a pub, the puka will take them across the countryside, and whoever rides the puka does not remember at all. Like, the memory isn't there. I feel like they're unaware what happened. They're like, but the puka drains their memory to know. Next up, we have the king hares. So I mean, the thing is that I feel like this could be the modern day Easter Bunny, but the king hare is an obscure cryptid from British Isles, described as a but they categorize this creature in Irish folklore as well. Which Irish, I mean, there's definitely Brit there, so more in Northern Ireland. There's a lot more British history. So I mean, this kind of makes sense. I mean, but it says they are roughly the size of a roe deer, because roe deer are. I mean, those of you that have been watching my hunting walkthroughs know what a roe deer would look. I mean, what they look like, but the king hare reaches about 4 feet tall. They were primarily reported in the 1970s into the 2000s, suggests a creature up to 4 feet tall and weighing significantly more than a standard European hare. But it says it is said that they stand tall as a medium dog with a bulk comparable to a deer, while still retaining the general features of a giant rabbit or hare. So yeah, this is in Northern Ireland, but towards like the British Isles. So yeah, these creatures, that's where Oxfordshire's located in Northumbria, Umbria. But yeah, they're in the archives with traditional European fairy tales. But there's another cryptid that is in the same family in the Lagomorphs, and one of those cryptids that we have in the U.S. is the jackalope, the jackrabbit with deer antlers. So this could be the British Isle jackalope. But that is the king hare. But the next cryptid or mythical creature we're going to talk about now, I wanted to actually read from what I found out about this. So a lot of you that know, we celebrate um a holiday in March called St. Patrick's Day. The tradition is, I mean, a lot of people celebrate that. A lot of people have corned beef, or yeah, corned beef, spinach. We all have a traditional Irish meal on that day. It's actually the birthday of my daughter on that day, and my birthday is actually the next day, so my birthday is on the 18th. So it's the day after St. Patrick's Day. But I wanted to talk about a cryptid that actually created. Now, this is not a joke. This is not. But St. Patrick was an actual person, and I would say when he banned this creature that I'll be mentioning, this creature actually created the longest lake in Ireland, River Shannon. But once the monster found out Saint Patrick banished him, he fled to the Atlantic coast. But on his journey to the Atlantic coast, that's how he formed the route to River Shannon to the Atlantic coast. So he was banished from, but St. Patrick saw this creature and he said it was very large. It was huge. It was a, but this creature was called the Oilifist, Oilifist, Oil, Oilifist, Oilifist. But that's the thing, is he didn't just banish this sea serpent, but he banished all sea serpents that lived in the river, in inhabited River Shannon. But when that monster heard about the banishment, it fled to the Atlantic coast. But along the way, it made that route from River Shannon to the Atlantic coast. So it was carving its own path for nowadays travelers that travel in boats. But St. Patrick spotted this creature on a boat. Um, Number five, we have so number five, we have the salmon of knowledge. Now, I know I'm kind of questioning whether or not, I mean, fish are smart. A lot, I would say most species of animals, including fish, are incredibly smart. So I would not make fun of the knowledge of a salmon. So the salmon of knowledge is a famous creature from the Fenian cycle of Irish mythology. It lived in the river Bayonne and gained all the wisdom of the world by eating hazelnuts that fell from the sacred hazel trees over the well of wisdom. According to ancient lore, the first person to catch and eat the salmon of knowledge would gain complete understanding of the universe. The master, an old poet and druid named Finnegas, spent 7 years on the banks of the Boyne trying to catch the legendary fish. But sometimes when an oil on the fish is super hot, the outcome of it was Phaon actually acquired all the knowledge of the salmon. Whenever Phaon placed his thumb in his mouth in his later adventures, it bestowed him with supreme wisdom and insight. But the apprentice of Master Fingas was Flann Mac Cumahel, known as Finn McCool. But he told, but Finnegas instructed his apprentice Phaon to cook the fish, but Phaon forbade, was strictly telling him not to eat any of it because he would gain knowledge of the universe. But that is one of the legends of the salmon of knowledge. Wait, does that mean if Willow, my daughter, eats the salmon of knowledge, do you think she should be actually be able to talk and share her knowledge and have insight of like what irritates her, and like being able to communicate what bothers her. Like, that'd be awesome. Next up, we have a Gungski. Is that how you say it? A Gunhiski. Ooh. So the each is Ashuka. So it's pronounced the each the Isuje pronounced Iushka. Iushka. What? Ekushka is a dangerous shape-shifting water spirit. So this is and I added this creature for a reason because it reminded me a lot like the Kelpie from Scottish folklore. But this is Irish. This is the Irish water spirit, but it's known as the Akushka. Similar to the Kelpie, but more vicious. Inhabiting sea locks in the sea, it typically appears as a fine horse or pony to lure victims. But, because the thing is, they describe, so the Kelpie, so there's a different approach with this story, with this legend. The Kelpie has the same thing where it can take form of an old man or a beautiful woman to attract a man to ride it, but will run into water and drown the victim as it's riding. And they say with the Kelpie, the only way to kill a Kelpie is with a silver bullet, um, or what was it? Something about the bridle, or showing it the cross. But a lot of the water, what is it? A lot of the lakes and things like that were thought, or basically were made by using a Kelpie in Scotland. So it could be the same meaning, that it could have made these bodies of water. So really the water, not, but the Iushka is it's more, so it's more vicious than the Kelpie, inhabiting sea locks in the sea. But it appears as a fine horse or pony to lure victims, but can also take form of a handsome man or a large bird. And its skin becomes adhesive when mounted, dragging riders to a watery grave where it devours them, often leaving only the liver. So, luring tactics are when it appears as a beautiful horse by the water's edge. If a person approaches and mounts it, they become stuck to its skin, meaning that the horse is part of the, or the human's part of the horse, stuck to its skin. The, uh, and they are pulled into the water. They devour the victims, often leaving only the liver. It can also attack people on land, sometimes venturing out of the water. So yeah, they're saying that the usage is generally considered more dangerous and vicious than the kelpie. So, because the kelpie is more tied to freshwater rivers and streams, so the kelpie was the water spirit that helped that created streams and rivers. So it says some legends say replacing its bridle with a cow's shackle can give a person power over it. But our next cryptid I feel like is gonna be more like a dragon. So yeah, this looks like a hydra. Like it's it's like the cross between a vulture and a dragon. It's called the Elang Trichand. Trinchand. But it says it's a three-headed monster in Irish mythology. It is mentioned in the text Cath Mage Macrama as having emerged from the cave of Cruachan until it was killed by the unlad poet and hero Amergine. So yeah, this definitely looked so. I'm wondering if it's like described as like a three-headed vulture or a three like a what is it, a hydra? Not not a hydra. Yeah, hydra. But it looks. I mean, this is just a drawing, but like there's that, and then there's. I mean, a lot of these are drawings, but this might even be a more realistic picture. But yeah, it's like a hydra, like a three-headed dragon. But let's see, there was another picture I saw that it was like a three-headed vulture with dragon wings and a tail. But it's definitely some sort of dragon bird. Aline Trenchen. But there it is. But that is a really cool mythical dragon creature. Definitely looks like something that they could put in like the Game of Thrones. Maybe they might have already have, or like maybe if they come out with like a new Lord of the Rings movie, which I think is happening, or if they plan to do another Hobbit movie. Next up is the Catahack. So this one was interesting because the picture of it, the mapped picture of it, looked like some sort of looked like a cross between a lion and a dragon. So, but let's see what it actually looks like. But it's gonna probably be cat-like. Catahack. So maybe I'm wrong. So it is actually a aquatic dragon from Irish folklore that guarded Innis Cathag in the Shannon, now Scattery Island in the Shannon estuary, according to a book of. This beast terrorized the surrounding regions and devoured anyone who tried to set foot on her island home. Often described as a nondescript hybrid of a dragon, whale, and boar, the cathack featured a massive scaly back resembling a round island, a rough, bristly boar's mane on her foreparts, two thick, hairy legs with iron nails that sparked against the rocks, fingernails, or actually toenails probably, a whale-like tail fitted with iron claws, a carnivorous mouth revealing her entrails, um, and a double row of sharp teeth. The monster went out on a destructive rampage after the deaths of her dragon sisters. She sank ships, destroyed crops, and paralyzed river commerce for an entire year. Her reign of terror ended when Saint Senan arrived on the island. Instead of fighting the beast with weapons, the holy man made the sign of the cross and commanded the Catahack to leave in the name of the Trinity. The vanquished beast obeyed and fled to the dark waters of Dulo Lake near Mount Colin, where local legend claims she remains to this day. But the three mythical dragon sisters of Ireland are Dabran, Farba, and the Catahack. So it, so it sounds like she went on a full rant, like revenge, probably to gain vengeance from what killed her two dragon sisters. But yeah, this is a possibly a good description of her. But look at that. The pink shows how massive she is compared to a little human. So yeah, the two legs, the boar-like fur on top, the whale tail with the spikes, the nails. Yeah, she looks. I'd be running for my life if uh, I would think it'd be like a freaking two-legged crocodile coming after me. Jeez Louise. But it's funny because it didn't mention her having wings, but she was still classified. I mean, classified as a dragon. But the fact that this creature like went on a rampage to avenge, I feel like her two dragon sisters, because her dragon sisters could have been killed by us. But the fact that, like, when she was in the water, she looked like a floating island. So our next cryptid or creature is called the Onchu. Onchu. Ooh, I like this already. Okay, so yeah, this thing is like, wow. It looks like a freaking wolf with with like the front claws of an eagle. It's a wolf with eagle talons. It's also referred to as the mythological water dog. The word derives from on water and Q hound. It is often used interchangeably with the Dorberchu water dog. Dober, the Wooberchu water dog. Early Irish texts, such as the 12th century Cagad Gadel Re Galib, lists the Anshu simply as a venomous water animal, often interpreted as a giant otter or a dog like beast capable of living in the sea and inland lakes. The creature is famously tied to the Battle of Clontarf in, what is it, 110-14 AD, where a fierce hound like creature allegedly emerged from the sea to guard the fallen body of the Irish leader Tanage Mora. Tanage Mora. Sahalai until his allies could recover him. But over over time, the word Anshu involved becomes synonymous with the Enfield or Elfin in English and Irish heraldry. Description: this version is a fierce, chimerical beast possessing the head of a fox, the chest and forelegs of a greyhound, the body of a lion, and the talons of an eagle. So, similar to the Greek creature, the chimera, from Greek mythology that had the three heads, it had the head of a lion, the head of a dog, and the head of a goat. And then was it had the wings of a dragon and the tail of a serpent. And then there was the cockatrice from Germany as well. So this kind of reminds me of that, of a similar creature related to Greek mythology. But yeah, this thing looks very scary. Yeah, there's a guy on the. This must be like a painting or like a digital art design, but things like dive bombs on this like medieval guy. I mean, those talons. I mean, no joke. Body of a lion, check. I feel like it's the head of a wolf, the jaws of like a wolf or some sort of dog, and then the talons of an eagle, which is like very scary. Um, so I have another. So we have another five. I wanted to add these to kind of complete, just to kind of like, they're not honorable mentions, but they're ones I feel like I don't want to leave out. That's why I said top 15 instead of top 10. But our next one is called the Doulahan. That's our next monster. The Doulahan isn't so much a or a creature. It's actually another, what is it? It's another mythological being that looks like the headless horseman. Basically, is the headless horseman, but Doulahan is the which I know. I think it's Texas. They also have their own cryptid, also that describes a headless horseman. Doulahan right here. But yeah, the Doulahan is a type of legendary creature in Irish folklore. It is a headless rider on a black horse, or as a coachman, but he carries his own head. But it says, so what it says, what happens if you see a Doulahan? If you happen to stumble upon this cursed figure, he'll hunt you down before proceeding to go, so you have no chance of escaping to go take the life you meant to take in the first place. But once the Doulahan speaks your name, you are marked for doom, but nothing can stop his control or command. But the Doulahan is actually the original inspiration for the Headless Horseman, but they differ significantly to their origins, powers, and supernatural behavior. But they're a specific mythological creature from Irish folklore. But the Headless Horseman is stated as a broader modern archetype of headless riders. Because the Headless Horseman is a undead spirit, and the Doulahan is a dark fairy. It despises gold, so gold is its only weakness. Even a single golden pin will force a Doulahan to flee. But really, that's the only way you can make a Doulahan go away, is if you're wearing something that is gold or you have gold on you. But they say that when he has like, since he's holding his head, because he's a headless figure, they say the head looks like a piece of moldy cheese. It's like, well, can we exchange your head for some moldy cheese? Or we, never mind. But next up we have a creature called the Sule leech. Sule leech. So the monstrous multi-eyed sea serpent from Irish. So this is a one-eyed serpent from Irish mythology. Its name means sharp-sighted or abounding in eyes. A fitting description for the creature's lore. Said to have haunted the waters of Lough Swilly and the River Swilly in County Donegal, Ireland. It was a massive serpentine beast, famously said to possess up to 400 eyes along its body. The Slayer. According to the creatures of myth, Sulach was vanquished by Saint Clomasal, known as Saint Columba in the 6th century. So the battle, when Colomasale went to battle the beast, a local chieftain cowered and ran, forcing the saint to fight it alone. Colomasale managed to chop the creature in half, but the beast's severed tail and head provided nearly impossible to kill. The second ultimately prevailed, and legend says he also sought out the fleeing chieftain to execute him. Though he washed the blood off his blade and let his anger wash away, ultimately sparing the man's life. It's also in It's been adapted for fantasy role-playing games, acting as a regenerable aberration in tabletop roleplay. What? Um, but there is the Suli Leech, and it is the creature that had haunted the waters of Lough Swilly and the River Swilly in County Donegal, Ireland. But it had 400 eyes along its body and had one eye on its head. Actually, they tell you how to pronounce it. Our next creature is this one here. Pasate. Pasate. Wow. So similar to the Oilefeist, so this creature actually avoided the banishment, like, of snakes, and remained hidden until Saint's death. So this is actually a really cool. This is really cool history, but the what is he as Ligna? So also known as Ligna, Lig, Lig, Ligna, Lig, Ligna, um, is a legendary giant serpent or dragon, but it is known as the last serpent of Ireland. The beast is said to have dodged St. Patrick's banishment of snakes and remained hidden. So, similar to the story of oil, where that sea serpent had fled, but made something completely out of what it was fleeing from, creating a route from River Shannon to the Atlantic coast. This dragon or serpent actually managed to dodge the banishment and hide until the saint's death, later terrorizing the countryside around the Sperrin Mountains and Lough. It was described as an 11-foot tall armored reptile with scales as large as dinner plates, mighty ram horns, a thick black tongue, and the ability to spit venom. But after St. Patrick's passing, Passate emerged from a pool in Bangakahar Glen near the headwaters of the Owenraya River to devour livestock and burn crops. The abnormal tides and currents in the lough are caused by Passate trying to break his chains, but he was banished to the depths of the Lough Foyle. But he tricked, so the binding local holy man, Saint Murrow O'Haney, prayed for 9 days and received divine aid. But he tricked the dragon into wearing bands made of green reeds, which miraculously transformed into iron. Um, awesome. So our next creature. So we've got two more. We have the Fey. What is it? Phala. Phala. Phalad. So we're actually getting into something really cool. One of my favorite fictional creatures. We're talking about lycanthropes, werewolves. It says in Irish mythology, the Falad, pronounced Fala, refers to ancient, often noble werewolves or wolf warriors, unlike the feral and bloodthirsty beasts in mainstream Western folklore. Falad, Falad generally retain their human intelligence while shape-shifting, and were referred as benevolent protectors of children, travelers, and the wounded. The roots of the lore and the most notable figures associated with the Fala highlight their unique place in mythology. So like where a lot of like werewolf folklore happens, where like the bloodthirsty beasts come from, is like Western folklore, but these guys are like the wolf guardians, meaning they're the protectors and defenders of children, travelers, and the wounded, people who are hurt. Legends of the Fela are deeply intertwined with the ancient kingdom of Osori. Modern day counties Laos and Kil- Kilkenny, the ancient kings of Ossory, claimed descent from a legendary spear wielding figure known as Lagnak Fala. He was historically credited as being the first of his lineage to adopt the shape of a wolf, and his descendants were believed to possess the same shape shifting abilities. The lore of the Fela features two distinct archetypes in medieval Irish texts. The Guardian. Most folklore portrays the Fulada singular as a noble creature. They would patrol borders, guide lost travelers, and act as selfless guardians of the innocent. The mercenary wolf warriors in the medieval text, Kor Anman fitness of names. Laganak Thalad himself and his followers are depicted as brutal mercenaries. These warriors wore wolf skins, fought in a half man, half wolf state, and were said to serve kings willing to pay their price. But one of the most cited historical accounts of these creatures comes from General Gerald of Wales in his 12th century book Topographica Hibernica, the topograph of Ireland. He records a tale of a priest who encountered a talking wolf in the wilderness of of Meath. The wolf explained he and his wife were cursed members of the Ossory tribe, condemned to transform into wolves every 7 years before swapping back to human form. Because wolves were native to Ireland, they heavily influenced ancient martial traditions. Ancient warriors were often called Lukdan, literally wolfskins, because of the pelts they wore into battle to channel a looping ferocity. But where so it's the legend of the Osprey werewolves is so deeply woven into local history that it actually inspired the animated film Wolf Walkers, which is set in the 1650s Kilkenny. So wolves really weren't. I mean, werewolves aren't always depicted as what we think of them as bloodthirsty, going out and killing. I mean, something like Garmin. Wolves were a huge historical, I would say, mark in Irish mythology, historical, really Irish back before I was born. Any of people I know today were born, like this centuries ago. Werewolves were often depicted as being guardians, as being the guides, the Sherpas of Ireland. But we have one more cryptid to talk about tonight. and that is the Roston sea serpent. Roston sea serpent. But so the Rostron sea serpent refers to a highly publicized cryptid sighting by Sir Arthur, who later gained global fame as the captain of the RMS Carpatha during the Titanic rescue. Rostron detailed the encounter in this memoir, describing a bizarre monster with a high rising head and snake-like features. But he spotted a unidentified creature about 50 feet from the ship's side. A great turtle-like head that rose 8 to 9 feet out of the water. The giant oarfish, this rarely seen deep sea creature grows up to 25 plus feet long and swims vertically. Its long silver ribbon like body and crown like head fins are widely considered the biological basis for ancient sea monster and serpent myths. It could have been an oarfish because I've seen those on TV before. But I think our next live is going to be talking about an oarfish. And by the way, guys, too, that female moth, that Promethe moth, the female, hopefully she's not dead, but it just rained really hard, so I'm hoping hopefully her wings dry up by morning, but she might not stay on the deck. I mean, I would think she'd fly away, but unfortunately, her time is only 2 weeks until. It's very sad, but like seeing an animal like that and witnessing something incredibly special. I mean, you'll never forget those times in your life at all. But anyways, thank you all for watching. Have a great night.